If you bought this bike, just the bike, without the motor, without the battery, probably be a $300, $400, $500 bike. And the fact that you get a motor and a battery, excuse me, on top of it, that does 50 miles of range, I feel like I'm stealing from Velotric by only paying that price, to be honest with you. The reason I bought this specific e-bike is because I felt like there was basically no sacrifice in terms of having a bicycle. Like, it's got all the parts. It's very unassuming looking, you know, doesn't even look like an e-bike. Very lightweight. Oh, in traffic. Gotta get out of this situation. Good thing I have an e-bike. Can just cook it right out of here. Oh, it's one of the sweet things about having an e-bike. You can go fast when you need to, where you need to. Get yourself out of some sticky situations. All right, I've had this bike for over 500 miles now. So now I feel like I can kind of give it an actual official review, if you will. A lot of those rides are, you know, sponsored posts, and people are getting paid to put these things out there. And they might ride the bike for, you know, a couple of charge cycles and get 2-3 cycles out of it and get like a couple hundred miles maybe. And you don't really get a good impression. So I'm here to tell you today what this bike is like from a real user who paid actual money. What this bike is like after 500 miles. Let's turn the bike on. Whew. On the website, it says urban and beyond. Doing some of the beyond right now. And this bike handles the dirt pretty well. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm still running the the stock tires, and maybe if I had some different ones, this might be a little bit better. Maybe some thicker gravel tires, but this thing handles dirt pretty well. And it handles curbs, no problem. So I've had this bike, so again, 500 miles. My impressions of it are: 1, fantastic product. 2, torque sensor is incredibly important if you want to ride a bike and get like a natural feel and don't want to sacrifice that bicycle aspect of it. Then a torque sensing e-bike is a really good one for you. And I specifically recommend this one because it still has the 8-speed Shimano gear shifter over here. So you still have that range where you can turn the bike off like this, and even if you're going onto a slight uphill, you can throw the bike down a little bit and you can make it up this hill no problem. As you can see, I'm getting a little, as you can hear, excuse me, getting a little out of breath here. You definitely still get a workout on this bicycle, which I'm very happy to say, coming from someone who researched e-bikes for an incredibly long time and used to think that they were cheating. I think this bike is a perfect transition for someone who is already an avid cyclist. Maybe they're aging a little bit, maybe they just want to get out more, get more fresh air, do more leisurely rides. Then this is a great first-time e-bike for anyone. And I also think, because of the size of this thing and because of the price point, this would be a great first-time e-bike for some kid to have, you know? Like a 12 to 15-year-old kid. My last video, my last review, I had mentioned I had a little bit of customer service issues with Velotric in terms of a faulty motor. And I had to go out and buy my own hex key set and this and that. Long story short, they sent me the money back in cash for the hex key set, and then as a complimentary gift sent me this nice t-shirt, which at first I was like, you know, whatever, it's just a shirt. This is actually a very high quality, nice shirt, and it says extra large, but I'm usually a medium or a large, and this fits me fine, so the sizing is off, but this is a great shirt. As far as the bicycle itself, I don't know if you can hear, there is a slight squeak to it, which is just going to come along with the territory of having a bike that has the gears on it like this one does, instead of the Gates drive like some other bikes. and this price point might have. Let's go on this grass. Oh, this is such a cool feeling to go on this grass this fast. What am I doing? Doing 14 miles an hour. That is a very cool feeling. Whew. Let's talk about range. So I usually ride primarily in eco mode, but I do find myself once in a while getting into those higher modes because it's just a heck of a lot of fun. It's you feel like you're incredibly strong, like you have superhuman strength or something. If you wanted to, you can get the range extender, which is I think $400, which should give you another 25 to 30 miles. So you can turn this into an 80-mile lightweight e-bike for $1,400. On this bike, I think I've gotten pretty close to about like 35 to 40 miles in range, which is a little bit less than advertised. But because I do record these things, I get insight into how much climbing I do, how much uphill I do. So in those 35 to 40 miles, I'm usually doing about, I don't know, 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet of climbing, something like that. So so you got to figure that into account. There's a lot of hills in those 40 miles that I'm getting. If Velotric were to release a this bike came with a 2-amp charger that takes about 6 hours to charge, 5 to 6 hours, give or take. So if they released a new branded charger from them, I'm not going to go out on Alibaba and get my own or whatever, because that's how you start fires. But if they released one on their own from the company that was a faster charger, you better believe your rear end that I'm going to be buying that one. I mean, slight downhill like this, just throw the bike off. It's not a problem. I do often find myself riding with the bike off just to try and get a little bit more out of my rides, you know, because I am coming from having just a regular bicycle. And again, the reason I bought this specific e-bike is because I felt like there was basically no sacrifice in terms of having a bicycle. Like it's got all the parts. It's very unassuming looking, you know, doesn't even look like an e-bike, very lightweight. And turning it off and being able to still ride it means that I really don't have a heck of a lot of range anxiety, because I mean, I'm used to riding my regular bike 20, 30, 40, 50 miles sometimes. So to ride this thing 5, 6, 7 miles because it died, it's not a problem whatsoever. The furthest I have gotten on a charge actually was 57 miles, and there was about 1,700 feet of vertical uphill on that. And I'm gonna say maybe like 15% of that charge cycle the bike was off, like it is right now. And part of the reason that it was off is because I ran into another e-biker, and that's just kind of rare here in the suburbs, so I'm always gonna stop and talk to someone. So I stop, I talk to him, and he's got one of those like 26-inch tires, 4 inches wide, fat tire e-bikes that are like 60, 70 pounds. And it's a 500 watt motor. And this guy is like going pretty hard on the throttle, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't see him pedaling much. And I'm just going on eco mode, and this guy couldn't keep up with me. I had to turn the bike off in order for him to keep pace with me. So it kind of reassured me that this bike is plenty powerful, even though it's 350 watts, because it's so lightweight. It's very easy to push very quickly. And you really don't need one of those giant fat tire e-bikes, especially if you're already kind of an avid cycler and you just want to make that easy transition. Then again, this is a great bike to make that transition for you. So I'm gonna turn around here because we just came down a pretty big hill, and I wanted to go up this small little incline right here. Not small, it's Not very long, it's very steep though. It's probably over 20% grade. Because I wanted to test, you know, I'm gonna do a rolling into it. We're gonna see how fast I go on, we'll go with the third level of pedal assistance. So right now we're doing 12.5 miles an hour. Just gonna get a rolling start into this hill because I want to show, you know, that this thing still can climb. Again, you're gonna have to put some effort, but you know what you're getting into when you're buying this bike. So I'm not even standing up. And we're doing 11 miles an hour uphill. Usually on my regular bike, I get about, whew, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles an hour up that thing, maybe. So to be able to climb it that fast is it's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive for a very compact, supposedly not powerful bike. Can get you up this hill no problem. To give you a scope of like how fast this is coming down this on a front suspension mountain bike, so not even with like I don't even lock out the suspension because I got a big bump up here. But anyways, coming down that hill, I'll usually hit about 30 miles an hour there, so it is very, very steep, but no problem can this bike get you up. So I'm gonna do another one. This one I'm gonna do from a stop, okay, and get into a lower gear. And oh, all right, we're gonna do this from a dead stop, and we're gonna try to get up this hill. Because again, this bike is not really made for this, but I just want to test it with other, you know, similar tests that people do for e-bikes. So again, we'll go third level of pedal assist, just like we did, and we're just gonna go right into it. And yeah, this is no problem. We're doing 10 already, 10 miles an hour already. And again, I'm exerting a lot of force here, a fair amount, but I can always shift down because I got 8 gears over here, and I can always boost up like I just did right there. And you can get up those hills absolutely no problem. On this bike, because you have the gear ratio over here, you can kind of maybe say that you've got 35 gears of range over here. Because again, you got 8 over here, and then you got 5 over here electronically. And if you've ever ridden a bike, which if you're watching this channel, I'm sure you are, I'm sure you have, then then you know what it's like to kind of go through like a valley, if you will, and just get caught at the bottom of that second hill, like in the wrong gear ratio, and you just kind of can't push through. In that instance, just throw it up a gear like I'm doing right now, and you can put it into those higher levels and just scoot out of there. And right now we are doing 16 miles an hour actually, which is very good considering we're going uphill right now. I am in 5th gear. I'll put it in 6 right now because I just bumped down the pedal assist. Oh, we got a pretty big hill coming up right now. So where this bike seems to really, really excel is kind of in the areas like where I just was, where it's kind of those gradual 1%, 2% uphills, because it's a really weird feeling where, oh dear, well, you're going uphill, but because of the electric assist and because it's torque sensing, it's very important because it's torque sensing. It just feels like you're almost like you're going downhill, but you're going uphill. It's a very, very interesting feeling, very unique experience to ride a e-bike with torque assist. Oh. Again, this bike has held up absolutely great, which is kind of nice to know. Oh shoot, this is all water. Turn around. Yeah, this bike is held up pretty well, which is nice to know because I mean, shoot, man, it's $1,000 e-bike. Like, at least that's what I paid for it. I think it's $1,100 right now. But I mean, if you bought this bike, just the bike, without the motor, without the battery, probably be a $300, $400, $500 bike. And the fact that you get a motor and a battery, excuse me, on top of it, that does 50 miles of range, I feel like I'm stealing from Velotric by only paying that price, to be honest with you. It's just a really great deal. I was a little skeptical at first, you know, because it seems like maybe it might be a cheaper bicycle because you are getting a motor and a battery for only $1,100 now. I hope you can hear me. There's construction going on. But you get the high quality brakes. You have the Shimano Altus. My other bike, my Trek Marlin 5, has a Shimano Tourney derailleur, and I put easily 5,000 miles on that bike. Still the same derailleur, so you should be pretty good with this one. I wouldn't be too worried about it falling apart on you. Just want to get on the bike and ride, which is why this is a great setup. You know, I got minimal wires here. Yeah, no, this bike is sweet. You got everything completely integrated. You can see it goes down into the tube right here. These wires are all tucked away into the thing. You can hardly see anything. This had a zip tie on it. When I replaced the controller, I took it off, and I kept saying to myself, I'm gonna zip tie it back after a couple of test rides with the controller. This bike is incredibly clean looking, incredibly sleek and minimalistic. Very nice looking bike. So one of the sweet things about having a lightweight e-bike like this, you can go right up the stairs like this, no problem. No problem. The other day I was on this track. I did a timed mile on the highest level of pedal assist. Oh, let's carry this thing back down. I was able to get 3 minutes and 6 seconds, which, I don't know, I think that's pretty good. That's pretty darn fast if you ask me, honestly. So again, this bike is 36 pounds, very lightweight. Got a 350 watt motor that peaks out at 600 watts. Got, 45 newton meters of torque, couldn't remember for a second. And it also has a 36 volt 9.8 amp hour battery. So that's the specs on this bike, on the e-bike aspect. And then as far as the bike goes, you got Tektro hydraulic brakes, which are actually incredibly powerful. One of my friends who's big into mountain biking actually mentioned to me that these brakes on here are larger and more powerful than his 40-pound full suspension mountain bike. So I feel very confident riding this bike. And another thing about the brakes is I'm not positive that this bike has a motor cutoff on the brakes, which a lot of e-bikes do have. But considering that this is such a lightweight bike, you really don't need that. And if you've ever ridden a bike, like, you know, as a cyclist, when you do something like what I just did right there, where you kind of corner return like that, or like this, you maybe want to hit the brakes and use the acceleration all at the same time. So the fact that you don't have to deal with the motor cutting out on you, and it just kind of keeps going in a very natural feel because of the torque sensor, and not too powerful because it's, you know, just not a powerful motor. But it's still something you probably want to have, to be honest with you. And that also helps keep the price down on this bike, because this is just a regular set of hydraulic brakes. But let's test them right now. All right, so I'm doing about 17 miles an hour. Let's stop. Yeah, no, these things are insane, honestly. I wasn't thinking I was gonna stop before that tree, but yeah, that was like a I don't know, a 7 or an 8 foot stop, which when you're going 15, 20 miles an hour, you want to stop pretty freaking fast, you know what I mean? So that's very nice that those are very high, powerful brakes. So in my last review, in my first impressions review, if you will, I had given the product a 9 out of 10, and I give customer support at the company of Velotric a 3 out of 10. I gotta change that score, I want to be honest with you. After fixing the motor for me, fixing the controller, they sent me the money back for the hex key set that I had to buy, and they sent me a kind of a nice high quality shirt, and they reached out to me, gave me a nice email, said they were so sorry, X, Y, and Z. I really appreciate when a company takes care of their customers, you know? Makes me feel good. I spent really good hard-earned money on this bike, 1,200 bucks. That's a lot to a everyday working stick like you and me. It's a heck of a lot. Revised review score. I'm gonna give the bike a 9.2 out of 10. Up 0.2 from the last time, simply because I've discovered the joy of riding it with the bike off like I'm doing right now. And I'm able to get, 1, a little bit more exercise, and 2, I was able to get past the advertised range on 1 charge cycle with a lot of uphill climbing with this new method, if you will, of turning the bike off and just remembering what it's like to not be a lazy slouch, which is the whole point of this bike. It's like a fitness line, you know what I mean? So score goes up, and customer service goes from a 3 out of 10 to I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, honestly. Kind of makes sense.